Hey, great day. Welcome to the House of Cons. I'm Black J. Tribe Buck, salute to the tribe. Alabama in the house, Monaga in the house, salute. Tribe Buck, Monaga. I hope everybody is blessed and is feeling blessed. I hope your family is blessed, Monaga. I hope everybody's doing good, everybody healthy. I hope everybody feeling good, Monaga. If you're here with us one more time, salute. Salute to you. And salute to those who are not with us anymore. Salute, Monaga. Salute to the ancestors, Monaga. You come from a long line, Monaga. A long line of the original man, Monaga. The American, Monaga. We about to get into it, y'all. We got a good show. Once again, we always got a good show. We always try to be on a good vibe over here. We always tribing up with good people over here. We always tribing up with the family, Monaga. It's always family first, Monaga. Title of the show is American Indians were labeled colored, Monaga. That's right. American Indians were labeled colored. And yeah, we had a little thumbnail up for the intro. We're gonna go back to that. Check it out from a bird eye point of view, a third eye point of view, Monaga. Salute. And we see in the background, we got a lot going on in the background, right? Salute. We got your boy Blackjack and superimposed in the front. I just decided to do something a little different this time. You know, I want to see if I can maybe attract some new people. You know, I wanted to give it a more professional look. You know, so I decided to superimpose myself in the front. Salute Charles Johnson in the house. Salute. Because you know we coming at it from an educational, informative point of view. And that's how we do it over here. Yeah, we got a little entertainment going on. Like we like our music in the background. We crack a little bit of jokes here and there, but it's serious business though. So I decided to change the approach a little bit. So we got a thumbnail. We got the collage going on in the background, which is really a political satire. And I added a few things to it. I added that red arrow to point out something, and I added the color only. But in the background, we got some political satire, and it's basically a picture that you can really find it on Alamy. I done tried to do image searches on it. I really couldn't find it nowhere else. It's a Getty image, and they don't really give you much description on the Getty image, so I ain't gonna need to waste time trying to go to the Getty image because this is gonna say Getty image. But from what we can see on the thumbnail itself at the bottom, it says something about Dukes Mixtures makes happy homes in every land. That's what it says, right? But you can't really see the every land part because I'm standing there on top of it. But we got a little guy to the right of me. He's sitting on the ground and he's reading something. It's hard to make out what it is he's reading. I was trying to make it out earlier today, but I really couldn't see it. It's even hard to make out what the Naga all the way to the left, what he's reading. Where I got the color only sign in front of him, it's hard to make out what he's reading. But a few things ain't hard to make out. One thing ain't hard to make out is that they darker than me.
Darkness, everybody, darkness.
Salute. Another thing I can point out is them three feathers popping off at the top of a Naga to the far left head. He leaning on the barrel, and it says something on the barrel too. If you can read any of that, what it says, put it in the chat. You know, I ain't got my reading glasses, so I can't really see what it says. I was looking early, I couldn't see. It looked like mom sitting back under the umbrella. She whipping up something for the pot, look like. Yeah. So like I said, this is some political satire, and didn't have much to offer as far as a description from the source where I found it. But I just used it for the thumbnail. We're gonna go from here. Salute to the tribe Buck. And salute Robin Nelson in the house. Tribe Buck, Robin Nelson, salute. So I want to talk about a few things. You know, American Indians being labeled colored. You know, we gotta understand some stuff when we talk about this subject. Even when we look at history, we're looking at the timing. We're looking at legislature. We're looking at classification. We're looking at what groups of people were labeled. Well, the truth is, if you even go with the out of Africa story, the transatlantic slave story, if you run with that, let's point out something. there was no legislation, there was no laws, or there was no big fuss about labeling Africans colored. Salute.
Big dummy.
When I say African, one thing you gotta understand, I'm not talking about a specific skin color. I'm talking about a land who really came from Africa. Now you gotta understand this. Were they so-called black Africans, or so-called Negro Africans, or were they so-called white Africans? So when we say African, we don't mean a color. We mean a land, Managa. And the same thing when we say black, we mean a color. We don't mean a land. So you got to understand, no so-called African slaves came over here with a controversy, with legislation, or anything else being passed about calling them colored. But you know who were? American Indians, Managa. American Indians were classified, labeled, colored, black, Negro also. And there was a big controversy about it, right? Big complications behind it, right? And we know this from history. Hey, salute Zaya in the house, salute. Copper color, right? Colored people, right? Colored only, Managa, right? It's like that sign said, color only. Who? Copper color. So we know the term color has its origins with the American Indian. And I would even argue the term Negro in America has its origin with the American Indians, not Africans. Like I say, the Naga's in the background darker than me.
Darkness, everybody. Everyone. Darkness is ready.
So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. And I ain't no light-skinned fella, so for them to be darker than me, that speaks volumes. But we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna start off with a couple of sources. I ain't gonna beat y'all down with too many sources today. I really got two main sources that I want to look at and that we want to investigate from a third eye point of view, Managa. You know what I'm saying? And let's dive right into the first one. Race in the census. Classifications, right? Labeling people. The Negro controversy, right? Why would, if all Africans was black, and if all so-called blacks came from Africa, why would Negro even be a controversy? Think about that. Let's pause right there for a minute before we even read any further, just with the title. Race in the census, the Negro controversy. Okay, so let's say if you was calling so-called Japanese people Negroes, right? They'll make a fuss about it, right? If you was calling American Indians Negroes, they like, man, they were like, man, I'm a Yamasee. What the hell you talking about, a Negro? Negro what? I'm a Yamasee. You know what I'm saying? They looking at you like, I might be darker. My sister lighter than me, and I got a brother darker than me, and another sister darker than him. So they looking at you like, color what? Well, we're gonna look at race in the census, the Negro controversy. Like I say, if we go with the African slave trade, y'all Nagas supposed to be coming out of Africa, it would be no Negro controversy. The controversy they found you here, Managa, and they enslaved you right here. And they tried to say, y'all ain't tribe no more, y'all Negroes now. Matter of fact, y'all from Africa. Let's read it. This is by Devera Khan. Khan spelled C-O-H-N. Look how they spelled Khan on this one, C-O-H-N. Devera Khan. I don't know what kind of Khan that is. But this on the Pew Research Center. .org, Managa, the Pew Research Center. Race and the Census, the Negro controversy, Managa. We're gonna read about it. We're gonna read about race, the census, and the Negro controversy. Who is it a controversy for? And you gotta understand, when all this stuff came about, the census was created in the 1790. Only certain terms was around, and we're gonna look into that. The topic of racial identification on census forms has a long, fascinating history. Yeah, I bet it is fascinating. Because listen to what they started right off with. They say the census the topic of racial identification on census records in the United States has a long, fascinating history. Okay, let's start right there. Why would the history be long and fascinating, right? If you run with their narrative, they telling you this what the colonizer narrative is. White Europeans went to Africa, enslaved black Africans, brought them to America, killed off the Indians, and enslaved the black Africans. This what they telling you, right? So in early census record, there should only be 3 parties, right? Africans, Europeans, and Indians. That's what it should say. People that came from Europe, people that supposed to came from Africa, and American Indians, people that was found on the land, right? That's all that should be there, according to them. But let's go. Let's continue. They say which has generated fresh debate. Yeah, a lot of debate as the 2010 census begins. This is back then. Why some ask, does the form include the word Negro along with Black and African American? See, look at this now. Is that 3 separate categories? Could an African American in fact be a white person or a so-called white person? Could a Black just be a person that's without color, right? Or could a Black be a person that's without a history, right? But what's a Negro? Why is there just not, if all this is the same people, why is there just not one term? Let's start right there. All right, but let's continue. Among the options that Americans can choose for their self-identification, isn't that term out of date? Which one? Negro? For one thing, there's no such thing as an out-of-date term. No term is out of date. Terms don't run out of date. Words don't run out of date. Words got defined definitions and you want to hide them for a reason. You wish words run out of date. Or what about Black? You say Negro's out of date, but what about Black? Ain't that out of date? What about African American? Ain't that out of date? I don't agree with any of them. But we'll use them knowing who you're talking about, right? You're talking about American Indians, right? So we know American Indians were classified in all those categories as Negro, Black, and African American nowadays. You got American Indians classified. You got a whole lot. You got the vast majority of the true American Indians today being classified as African Americans. As you can see from the review, and I'll start right here. Any non-believer, anybody new that don't understand what I'm saying when I sit here and I tell you that the American Indian was labeled Negro, was labeled Black, was labeled African American, and still are being labeled that today. If you don't understand what I'm taking you to, I'm gonna point it out to you. We'll look right at this Indian, Blackamoor, American Indian. How did he look? Blackamoor, just like this one. Who's a Negro? Who's an Indian? Who's an African? It's like so many examples with your phenotype, with your nappy hair and black as and your feathers on. That's who the American Indian is. So when we asking you, when we telling you, or when we read in these sources that are sitting here and throwing all these terms at you, trying to confuse you, the word Negro, Black, and African American, and I sit here and I tell you American Indians were labeled all of that. If you don't understand me, then I'm sorry. You gotta follow along. As you can see from the review that follows here, racial terms have come in and out of favor from one decade to the next. You know why from every 10 years, every time the census come out, from one decade to the next, how come racial terms are coming in and out of favor? How come they always in debate when it concerning you, Managa? There was a familiar debate about Negro in the 2000 census, as there have been about other race terms in previous census years, like Black, like color. They saying I'm not Black, I'm not colored, I'm Yamasi. They saying I'm not Black, I'm not colored, I'm Miami Indian, I'm a Miami Indian, Managa. They say they from the Miami tribe. They say they ain't no Black, no color, no Negro, no African American. They say they're a Pequot. All right, let's read some more. Before 1960, census takers filled out the enumeration forms and chose the category for each American they counted. So you got census takers, you got colonized, you got Europeans filling out the categories for each so-called American they counted. So they filling out the category for you, Managa. And you know what they writing? They ain't writing Native American Indian. They ain't writing Aborigine. They writing African American. They call you a Blackamoor. right? They call you all these different names, when the whole time we know that you just always was an Indian, an American Indian, the true American Indian, right? Chief to dig in the house, salute, tribe, but chief to dig in the house. So it says the Europeans used a detailed set of instructions from the government, key points of which are listed below. The key points of which are listed. The key points is to point out all of the darkness and make sure you stop calling them American Indians. Start calling them colored now. Start calling them something else. Don't call them a Pawnee Indian anymore. Don't call them a Pequot. Don't call them a Carib, right? It said they use a detailed set of instructions, right? Key points which are listed below. The 1960 census was a transitional year in which census takers chose the race for some Americans. Okay, so you chose race for Americans. What about ethnicity, right? What about nationality, right? You created race, right? The two caste system, right? You created this black and white stuff, right? And other self-identified from a list of categories. Not only did you create the caste system of white and black, you said in order to be an American Indian, you got to be white. You did your paper genocide, right? It say from 1970 to 1990, most Americans filled out their own forms and checked off a race category for themselves. Starting in 2000, they could choose more than one. When the census began in 1790, the racial categories for the household populations were, look, here we go. The 1790, the beginning of the U.S. Census, right? The beginning of the first official census at the stronghold of the Naga, right? Look what went down. It say for the census began in 1790, the racial categories for the household population were free white. What about Europeans? Persons other than free persons by color and slaves. So wait a minute. You got free white persons, right? They ain't say Europeans. They just say free white persons, possibly some from Africa, probably some from Europe and other places. They just say free white person. They did look. They in the first census they excluded where anybody was from. They didn't mention where nobody was from. No African is mentioned. No nothing. It's free white people. Like okay, so and they implying some white people wasn't free. Like those that ride on the convict ships, Managa. They separate. They making a separation here. Free white persons and other free persons. Other free persons who? Non-white people that was free. Like Nagas on the land, tribed up that they ain't even couldn't count, right? Free white persons and other free people like indigenous Nagas by color. And then slaves. Now who was the slave? White and black slaves, right? That they brought over, or people they enslaved while they came here. You gotta actually see all this is none of this is mentioned. None of this is mentioned. No land, nowhere. So what are we to assume that everybody listed here is from somewhere else? See what assumption you supposed to make in 1790? You talking about racial categories. What about nationality category? When you got a bunch of newcomers coming from Europe, coming from Britain, France, the Dutch, all this. Why not? Why didn't have those classifications? And why didn't have the classification say, okay, this is the southeastern tribe of Nagas, right? Or why didn't you have a classification say these Nagas come from West Africa? You just got free white people, other free people who apparently is not white, and you listed them by color, and then you listed slaves who include white people, right? Census takers did not use standard forms in the early censuses, right? So already our day one is flawed. It's flawed from day one. For 1850 to 1880, the codes for enumerators were generally white, black, WMB, and mulatto, M, beginning in 1850. Now look at this. They tell you slavery ended in 1865, and they tell you most of you niggas was locked up in chains, right? But right here they say for 1850 to 1880, 15 years before the so-called end of slavery, right? The codes for so-called slavery, like you was told, The codes for enumerators were generally white, black, and mulatto. So you mean they ain't saying where nobody from. They just run around, okay, you white, you black, and you mixed with white and black. That's it. That's what they doing all the way in the 1800s. Beginning in 1850, the data was labeled colored. In 1870, Chinese and Indian were added. So we know these so-called Chinese people, Asian people, they didn't even get over here until like 1870, Monaga. That's when they officially got listed, Monaga. Remember, they told you they started counting in 1790. We just looked at that and went over it slow from a third eye point of view. And they said it wasn't nothing but white, black, and slave. Now we know that all white people came over here from somewhere. We know some of the whites was free and some was slave. Now we know some black people came here from somewhere, but from where? And we know the other free people by color who was here that was black, they ass was just here. They came from nowhere. And all the way in 1870, after the ending of 5 years after the ending of so-called slavery, the so-called Chinese show up. And Indian and so-called Indian, not American Indian, the other type of Indian, right? The red dot forehead Indian were added. Those people never got here till after 1870. There's your proof right there. They wasn't getting enumerated in 1790. It was just Negroes here. And then the whites pulled up and they found you here. The whites said, we need to count 1 little, 2 little, 3 little nigglets. I think that 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indian shit is all about the census and all. I don't know what kind of deception they running. You gotta always look at it. And they say Iowa added. That's that Iowa added back then. That's not for American Indian. In 1880, the data item was not labeled. It was whether this person is. In 1890, Japanese, quadroon, or octoroon were added. Quadroon, octoroon, and all this here. How you supposed to talk about you a quadroon or octoroon or all this here? Now I'm talking to the mixed people out there. Cause when you know the Naga ain't mixed out. The Naga like Naga's over here, man. Y'all see my big brother. The Naga ain't mixed out. The Naga still pure D black, many shades of black. Like this song. Hold on, let me turn my light on. Like this fresh there, strictly for my Naga shirt I got on right now. You know what I'm saying? Showing the neck goose on there. You know what I'm saying? Not mixed out, never head. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get yourself something like this, you go to www.strictlyformynagas.com, my Naga. Support this show, my Naga. Going as low as $19.99, my Naga. Salute, tribe up. The Naga ain't mixed out. The Naga still black as fuck. So all this octoroon and all this other shit, they're not talking to you anyway. Them other people. These are not Tamaricans. All this, you can't be an octoroon and all this quadroon talking about you a Tamarican. You talking about these Eurasians, these Japanese, right? These so-called Chinese, right? The people who claiming they Native Americans now. In 1900, there were no specified categories on the census listing form. But the instructions called for enumeration to list W for white, B for black, or Negro descent. See, man, you see the deception they running. So you know the whole Indian tribe, the whole American Indian tribes. Where are they? Now you saying you either white, black, Chinese, or from Japan, or from India. From India inferior, right? Not big India, India inferior. As the case may be, there was no mention of quadroon or octoroon. This appears to be the first appearance of Negro in lowercase, right? They specified in that this is the first appearance of Negro in lowercase in the instructions, but it was not listed on the form itself. They got it in instructions, but not on the form, and they got it in lowercase. Now, peep this. In 1900, Negro first appears. Because remember, right? In 1790, where it's at, it was free white persons, free persons of color, or slaves. It was not Negro. It was colored people. Free people of color. Negro ain't get up in the official records to the 1900s, to 110 years later, and which was only 123 years ago. In 1910, the data item was called color or race for the first time. See, they changed it out of all that. See the data item, they was calling it. Where it say, there was no mention of part. It say in 1900 there was specified categories. All right, the datum item was not labeled. All right, so in 1910 though, the datum item was labeled color or race for the first time. First time, right? 1910. That's around time little after Black Jack Sr. was born, my granddaddy. Right. The instructions allowed for MU for mulatto and OR for other, with an instruction to write in the race. B was called black only. Right? This is where we see it go from Negro to black, right? In 1910, right? They say 1900, Negro was for the first time, right? It went from colored to Negro from 1790, from colored to free color, right, to Negro in 1900. 10 years later, 1910, they slid black on you, right? People, what's going on? Whole time, American Indian is disappearing. The definition for B and yeah, they call you black and mulatto now. Is for census purposes. That term black includes all persons who are evidently full-blooded Negroes, right? So what makes you a full-blooded Negroes? What makes you a full-blooded Negroes? Oh, how dark a person is. You say they full-blooded Negro, huh? Man, these people, he was something else, man. While the term mulatto includes all other persons having some proportions or perceptible trace of Negro blood. So, by their rules, me and my sister, we got the same mom and daddy. I'm 4 times darker than her. They would call her out the room and they'll swear we got they'll swear they would call me a Negro and they'll call her out the room. We got the same mom and daddy. Make it make sense, my nigga. In 1920, there were no changes. In 1930, and both of our parents darkness. My mom and my dad the darkness. My sister, you know, people of color, melanated people, you know, it's something, man. I argue it's more than 10 shades of color. Even in my family, man, it's so many shades of color in my family, from the darkest to the lightest, my nigga. But let's continue. It say in 1920 there were no changes. In 1930 there was specific instructions that used the term Negro. Persons who were mixed white and Negro blood were to be counted as Negro, apparently capitalized. See, now they saying capitalized. What, now it's Negro as a nationality now? All of a sudden in 1920 they say, yeah, make their nationality Negro. What's going on here? They just had black there. What's going on, right? It say this is so-called the one drop rule, right? Or variations of it appeared in census instructions beginning in 1870. So variations of the one drop rule began from 1870. Persons who were mixed white and Indian, here we go, were to be counted as Indian. They say long as you a real light skin and you claiming to be Indian, especially if you European. If you European, if you like a hook nose J, if you got that Habsburg jaw, you definitely can be an Indian. They say except where the percentage of Indian blood was very small or where he or she was regarded as white in the community. Any person who was white and colored, black or white, was to be counted according to the colored race. So if you was mixed, no matter. All right, so look what they saying right here in 1920. Any person who was white and colored, no matter if their mama was black and their daddy was white, or no matter if their daddy was black and their mama was white, either way, you was to be counted with the colored race. No matter who was colored, your mother or your father, and who was the white person, your father or your mother. And mixed colored races were to be counted according to the race of the father. See that? Now how you go, anybody mixed with white and colored was to be counted as colored no matter what. But any mixed colored races, look at that, mixed colored races. What you mean? A true African mixing with a Tamari Khan? You mean a true black or white African mixing with an American Indian, mixing with the colored race that was mixing with the Naga? That's what you mean? Were to be counted according to the race of their father. So if your father was American Indian, they would call you black or whatever still, right? Say there was an attempt in this census only to obtain figures for Mexicans, right, who were defined as all persons born in Mexico. Also, that means no matter what color it is, or having some parents born in Mexico who were not definitely white, Negro, Indian, Chinese, or Japanese. Man, what's going on here? They done created a whole new Mexican race. They say, yeah, we done created something for Mexico. Forget about the ancient Naga that was there. We done created a Mexican race. We did it with eugenics and in the World Exposition Fair. We call these people Mexicans now. Long as they not what? Long as they specifically not what? White, and definitely not Indian or some other race other than white. Definitely not Negro, definitely not Chinese or Japanese. In 1940, the only change was the elimination of the Mex category. They say, yeah, they say 1940, look, 20 years later, right? They say get rid of that Mex shit. They say y'all ain't fooling nobody. They say eliminate that Mex category. These Nagas know Nagas been in Mexico since the Most High said let there be.
Darkness, everybody, darkness is spreading.
They were to be listed as white unless they were definitely Indian or some other race other than white. See, look at the deception. Look, it say the only was to eliminate the Mexican category, and Mexicans were to be listed as white unless they were definitely Indian or some other race other than white. They didn't even say black. Look what they did. What other races other than white when we talking colors? Now you talking tribes. When you say Indian, what you mean? American Indian? What are you saying? Is this the black right here or some other race other than white? Y'all see what they doing with the deception? In 1950, the census form listed the following categories: white, Negro, American Indian, Japanese, Chinese, Philippine, all the way to 1950, Monaga. And now they got all these, and that wasn't that long ago, Monaga. That ain't even 100 years ago. They just not getting all these categories. Alright, I wonder why. Beginning in 1960, the Census Bureau began to use forms similar to the ones in use today, with a single form for an entire household, rather than having multiple households included on the form completed by an enumerator. Census forms were mailed to most people, but census takers picked them up. The data item is called color or race. Not nationality, not where you from, color or race. That means you can just be from anywhere. If you white, you can be from anywhere you're white. If you so-called black, you can be from anywhere you're just black now. The categories for white, Negro, American Indian, Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, etc. Note that black did not appear on the form. Look at that. Black did not appear. Look what they slid. They got Negro. Now notice they put white, Negro, and they put right next to it, American Indian. See, most Nagas should have been clicking this right here, American Indian. No Naga should have been clicking Negro. You gotta force their hand. And in fact, a true native Naga Hawaiian, is an American Indian also. Alright, note that black did not appear. Yeah, we noted that. The instructions called for census takers to complete the race item by observations. It told the Europeans, you go in there and you figure it out. And directed that Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, and other black ass Nagas from Latin descent would be classified as white unless they were definitely Negro, Indian, or some other race. Look, it's always Negro, then Indian, and then maybe some other race. You gotta pick game. Hey, God's favorite in the house. Salute to God's favorite. God's favorite. Say what this is. We're looking at. Right now. We're looking at the Negro controversy. I'm gonna stroll back up. Then we're gonna come back down to where we was reading at. We at the Pew Research Center. Race and the census. The Negro controversy. All right. So in 1980, the race item was not labeled. It read, "Is this person blank?" This list of categories was expanded to include Vietnamese, Asian, Indian, guac, all this here, and then this. Now I want y'all to notice another thing. Here we are all the way up to 1970. African hadn't been mentioned in the census not one time. Notice that African is never mentioned. In 1990, the data item was relabeled. It was called race for the first time, not color or race. The categories, we look at 1990. They made it official about race. Look at that shit. The The categories remained the same as in 1980, but the Asian or Pacific Islander categories were grouped together. In 2000, respondents were allowed to pick more than one race. They said, yeah, you can be whatever you want to be now. They say, we done this official now, paper genocide. They say the race data item retained essentially the same categories as in 1990 with a few adjustments. A few minor adjustments, hopefully nobody catches on. Black or Negro became Black or African American. In 2000, Managa. In 23 years, Managa. And 23 years ago, Managa. And Nagas ain't raised hell. Nagas ain't tear the country up. Nagas ain't tear their shops up. They done switched you 23 years ago from Black or Negro. They slid it in the middle of the night while nobody wasn't looking and say, yeah, just erase that and put African now. Don't check that box. Sister Soul Man Radio in the house. Sister Soul Man Radio in the house. Salute Tribe up. 23 years ago, they made it official. They got you in all that I'm black and I'm proud shit with Jesse Jackson calling himself African American. Then 23 years ago in the 2000 census, my Naga, while Nagas wasn't paying attention, they erased Black or Negro because they know that was false anyway, and they slid in African American. That's the choice they give you, and you better not click that. You better not click that. On no census form, my Naga. The 3 Native Americans, look, they went straight from this so-called African American fake shit straight to talking Native Americans. Look, the 3 Native American categories were grouped together as American Indian or Alaskan Native. If that's what you need to click, Managa, American Indian. Force them to acknowledge it. With a write-in of the tribe, you can write your tribe in. You can write in tribe unknown. They know what they did to you. They know they did to your ancestors. You can write in tribe unknown, assimilated. That's what I do. Y'all fill out your little census records because you're not fooling me. Y'all get to self-identify. You can't tell me who I am. I'm gonna tell you who I am. Black or Negro became Black, African American or Negro. They slid that slick ass shit in. They say, yeah, that man, that's a rap skit for that one. Let's go to this other source. It's funny, y'all. Before we start this, we're gonna get into this one. Who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? Why would you have to ask? Why would you have to ask who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? Why are you trying to confuse somebody? Why would you have to ask who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? Why got to be a whole article written by this professional Paul T. Murray about the Virginia Indians in the World War II draft? Who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? You don't know who is who. 10 little Indians, 10 little nigglets, huh? You don't know who Indian, who's a Negro, right? What, a Negro for somewhere else? You don't know who is who? What you trying to say? Who's an Indian and who's an African? Is that what you're really saying? Who's an Indian and who's an African? Not who's an Indian, who's a Negro. Who's an American and who is an African, my naga? They both black as fuck, my naga. They both. We don't know who. Who's an Indian? Who's a blackamoor? Who's a blackamoor? Who's a naga? Who's a naga and who's an African, my naga? That's what you're really trying to ask. Who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? Who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? We don't know. We don't know who. We don't know. If the Indian was white or Caucasoid, you wouldn't even have to ask this question. You gotta ask this question because you labeling Indians Negroes just like you labeling African Negroes. When you see this nappy-headed phenotype and this dark skin, you saying Negro. Who's the Indian? Who's a Negro? Who's the Indian? Who's a Negro? We see the Indian is the Negro. That's who. That's why you got this little funky little article here. Who is an Indian? Who is a Negro? We really can't tell. And this is stupid, man. I mean, it's just to the point where it's stupid, man. You gotta be. Who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? How does one decide a person's race? I guess not by observation, huh? What's race? What is race? I thought it was nationality. I thought it was ethnicity. I thought it was tribe. Who's an Indian? Who's a Negro? We can't tell. How does one decide a person's race? Few Americans have ever had the occasion to ponder deeply these questions. Only few Americans, only the chosen few, only the cons. Only the cons have sat back and pondered on occasion. Hey, they've only ones had time to ponder deeply with these questions. Am I from Africa? Or was I always here? They say only a few got time to ponder that, right? In most cases, the answer is self-evident. In most cases, it's self-evident. You ain't even gotta ask, Managa. A racial label, Managa, is just a label. A racial label is usually assigned. It's assigned to you. Who assigned? Other people assign stuff. You didn't assign it to yourself. You was calling yourself tribe. You call yourself a Yamasee. You call yourself a Gwale. You call yourself a Tamukwa. Assigned by reference to obvious physical criteria. Forget where they're from. Forget what they're wearing. Forget their customs. Forget their language. Forget their culture. We're going to do it all by skin color. Such as skin color, hair texture. Make sure don't forget to mention hair texture, because we know all them American Indians was very nappy headed. They was very, very nappy headed. So we got to make sure we use that as a source of elimination. We got to make sure that we saying in order to be an Indian, you can't be nappy headed, because we know that all the original ones was very nappy headed and they was very black. So we got to use skin color. Hey, Teacher 777 in the house. Tribe up. Members in the house, y'all get that membership. Like Teacher 777 got that star. You know what I'm saying? But she's a star, Managa. She tribed up. And salute Teacher 777 in the house, Managa. Yeah, they say we know these Nagas was very black and nappy headed. They were very, very nappy headed. These Nagas was nappy headed as hell. These Nagas, they invented the comb. They was like we gotta use that against them. We gotta say you can't be nappy headed and you can't be black, right? Right? They say a racial label is usually assigned by reference to skin color and hair texture. Most definitely skin color and hair texture, right? And facial characteristics, right? Facial characteristics. What, like beards, Managa? But in any multiracial society, there are some people who cannot be neatly placed into one of a limited number of categories. You got to know their genealogy, Managa. Further, in a society where one's social position depends heavily upon race, resolving questions of racial classification becomes a serious issue. See, they say your social position depending heavily upon race, Managa. That's why cons, you gotta reject the racial system. Yeah, you gotta reject calling yourself black or being called black like your ancestors rejected it. You gotta be like, man, you call me that, it's war. You gotta reject being called the Negro. You gotta reject being called the African American, being bastardized, being mislabeled. Those aren't your fathers. Your real fathers will turn in their grave, Managa. Say, so you voluntarily saying, no, I ain't American Indian, I ain't tribed up. You picking yourself and saying black, you automatically, your social position gonna depend heavily upon that, Managa. You go from being the head to the tail instantly. People of mixed race, the Naga ain't mixed out. I don't even care about all that. During the Second World War, a small group of Virginia Indians challenged the prevailing system of racial classifications. Before we go here, I'm gonna come back there. They want to talk about the Naga mixed out, man. How many Nagas you go right outside on your neighborhood that you see looking like this? The American Indian ain't mixed out. They ain't gone. That is stupid. When you clearly see the American Indian looks like this. Very nappy-headed, Managa. Very, very coarse-haired, Managa. Very nappy-headed, kinky. Hold on. Man, I see a lot of them outside. I know a lot of them personally. They all over the place. The Indian ain't mixed out, Managa. Cut the bullshit talking all this mixed stuff. That's a throw off. They trying to see when they go to talking about us and then they go to try to talk in mix. They trying to slide them other people in that came over here in the 1870s, Managa, who claiming they tried. They trying to bring them into the conversation. That's why I skip all that talking mix. And our game mixed out. We still a mixed multitude on our own. We got dark skinned brothers, dark as darkness. We got red bones and caramel and everything in between. We are our own mixed multitude. We didn't need nobody help. We ain't mixed with no other funky ass tribes that don't look like us. All this bullshit and lying. During the Second World War, a small group of Virginia Indians challenged the prevailing system. They challenged the system. They said, don't call us black. Or racial classification. When called to register with the Selective Service, they listed their race as Indian. They said, we Indians. They listed their race as Indians, my nigga. They said, don't call us no black, man. We Indians. You see these fellas in this nappy here? Calling us blackamoor and black. They said, don't call us that. We Indians. They challenged the system. Local draft boards, however, would not accept this claim. They said, nope, y'all dog, y'all black. They said, we're not accepting that claim. They recalled that in antebellum days, some of the registered ancestors had married free Negroes. No, they were free Negroes. They didn't marry. Okay, where did the free Negroes come from then? Where the free Negroes? If they ancestors married free Negroes, and they not take what they tell you that their ancestors was Negroes that married other free Negroes. See, they confusing you. They just say their ancestors. They didn't say their red man ancestors married free Negroes. No, their ancestors was Negroes, and they married other Negroes. You are not mixed out, my naga. If his ancestors married Negroes, what are his ancestors? Hey, Miss Geechee God in the house. Salute. Tribe up to Miss Geechee God. Yeah, they want you to think you mixed out, my naga. Because they want you to think the Negro ain't the Indian. That's why the whole mixed out. They're trying to bring other people in the conversation. They don't want you to know that you are the indigenous Tamarican, that you are the Khan, you are the Aborigine, you are the American Indian. They want to bring other people into the conversation, make you think you mixed out. Bullshit. They say based on this evidence, the boards insisted that the proper classification for all alleged Indians, look at here, not only for these three that's coming in here complaining, talking about we Indians, we ain't blacks. Matter of fact, the whole board said, in fact, we gonna insist that the proper classification for all alleged Indians was Negro, my naga. Was what? All Indians was what? Who all what? That's why I tell y'all strictly for my nagas. Y'all think I be playing, y'all think I'm making it up. Y'all think them other people involved with us. They are not. It said the proper classification for all Indians was Negro, my naga. All Indians was what? Negro, my naga. All of them. It wasn't no other Indians. It was you, my naga. It's what I'm trying to point out. I don't know if anybody else pointing this out. But I definitely am on stronghold for my nagas, man. And I don't even care what other people think, man. I don't care who feelings get hurt by this. I don't care. I don't care, my naga. Cause I'm coming in the spirit of truth, my naga. I ain't coming here lying to appease other people and to make them feel good about themselves. No, we gonna tell the truth over here. The Indian is the Negro and no one else. Ain't no mixing out. Ain't no other tribes. Saying that bullshit. Saying HSV Overwatch in the house, Wale in the house, Anthony Lowe in the house. Salute. Tribe up. Tribe up. I'm saying all this lying. And you came in so many forms. A large painted wood, blackamoor, or Indian, Managa. You came in many forms. Always in the red and white, Managa. The red and white. Your colors again, Managa. I'm saying all this lying. All this lying and false history. All alleged Indians were to be properly classified as Negro. The Indians were adamant in refusing this. Draft board members were equally determined not to classify the men as Indians. They say, well, we classing y'all as Nagas, whether you like it or not, y'all niggas. They say we ain't classifying y'all as Indians. Because such a classification, what it would mean something. What would it mean? That they would be sent to military service together with whites. That it mean more than that. It mean way more than that. For 5 years, the Indians appealed this decision through the channels of the state and federal selective service bureau. Bureaucracies without success. Finally, when ordered to report for induction as Negroes, they refused to be drafted. This article described their struggle and their ultimate success in gaining official recognition as Indians. And right now today, my Naga, a lot of Nagas out here turning 18, signing up for selective services. You might want to go to the military. That's on you. I ain't knocking what you want to do. I ain't a move I would make, but that's on you. But you should be demanding that they don't list you as black or African American. You should be demanding that that draft board list you as what you are, an Indian, my Naga. This article describes your ancestors' struggle as their ultimate success in gaining official recognition as Indians. You should want your official recognition, my Naga. In any society where status and privilege are based upon color, it ain't based on tribe no more. They saying there ain't no more tribes. They saying y'all gone now. They saying ain't no more Indians. They say the Indian gone. They say what Indians? Ain't nobody around here looking like this. They say ain't no Indians. They say we know the Native Americans ain't real Indians. You know we paying them to look the other way. We giving them the payout to shut up and to take y'all spot. They say it ain't no Indians running around like this. They African Americans now. They mixed out, my Naga. They say you mix, my Naga. Yeah, cause see what you gotta understand, man. You calling yourself an African American, you calling yourself mixed. You calling yourself an African and an Indian, and you saying that and mixed don't not necessarily mean you not black. Yes, if a black African have a seed with a black American, that's a mixture. That's a mixed person. You mix now by nationality, not by color, my Naga. You big dummy. You mix by nationality. And if you know you got African ancestors, that's one thing. But if you don't, man, now you bastardizing yourself. And it ain't no proof. It ain't no record. You ain't mixed out. You was tribed up over here. You ain't mixing out. You crazy. Indian tribe. You know what? Just like Queen Regnant Liloa. Lily Okalani and Liloa. Them tribes over there, man. You had to come from. Man, that man married that woman because she came from another tribe, man. You know, it wasn't no just marrying what, a colonizer or an African. No, it was marrying tribe, my Naga. They crazy. Is you crazy? Matter of fact, man, let me show y'all what I'm talking about, man. Let me go back to it. This is from off yesterday live stream. Let me go back to it though one more time. Let's revisit something. Talking about Nagas mixed out. No, ain't no mixed out, and still ain't mixed out. I'm gonna go to this right here from yesterday. We was talking about Chief Liloa. We was talking about Kamehameha. You know what I'm saying? And we was talking about Leo Kalani. Now when we was looking at when they was talking about their family, and they said they wasn't. They were saying they lineage is traced from creation. Not mixed out, Managa. Unbroken. It was important. They say their lineage was. So you think you just walking up in this tribe talking about you a colonizer, or you from Africa and you want to breed up with these? Man, you crazy. They gonna be off with your head, man. Let me see. And then like Omen was considered a just ruler. Talk about when he married his wife. She was from a closely related tribe. See what people don't know. These was arranged marriages, fool. You ain't just going up in no tribe, mixing out with no Indian tribe. You crazy. These chiefdoms and, man, these rulers, man, these marriages was arranged, man. You had to be somebody, and you had to be known. Your pedigree had to be known. You could not be mixed out. That's the main thing. They had to make sure you wasn't mixed out. Talking mixed out. They lying. They trying to take your spot. They trying to slide in and slide you out. Talking about mixed out my ass. Mixed out my ass. This rulership, this kingship, khanship, my nigga. You ain't finna walk in talking about marrying no. You ain't finna marry no Lily Okalani and you a nobody. You a bust ass. No, man, you crazy. Off with your head. You crazy. You crazy. You think you finna marry anybody out they tribe, and you a nobody. You crazy. Crazy, my nigga. This is all arranged, my nigga. Royalty don't just get passed down to just anybody. It's all arranged, my naga. Talking about the nagas mixed out. Man, I don't buy that garbage, man. I don't buy that garbage. Nagas is not mixed out. We already had plenty shades of us, plenty colors. Like I say, same mamas and daddies. My sister 4 shades lighter than me. Got hair just like mine. But my mama's sister, her son got hair, this nigga hair, so you might touch that nigga hair, cut your hand, that nigga hair so kinky. And they got the same mom and daddy, my nigga. This phenotype is broad. You can't say how melanated the nigga is or how melanated the nigga ain't and where they from. That's impossible. Nigga stupid, man. This shit just be stupid to me, man. It be pissing me off how stupid it is, cause they rely on they stupid reasons to say, oh, you ain't got straight hair. Oh, you black. It's stupid. It's very stupid because they don't know what they actually saying. They actually just regurgitating colonizer lies. They regurgitating the hijack. They saying the opposite of what is true. In fact, your nappy hair make it you. Your being so-called black make it you. Who's the Indian? Who's the Negro? Man, we gonna take our spot back. We ain't asking. We gonna take it. You feel me? We gonna take it. It is what it is. We ain't asking. We don't care who get offended. We don't care who talking about they tribe, knowing they ain't tribe, knowing they ain't been through what we've been through, knowing they don't look like us. Look like us. You talking about you tribe. You false flagging. You don't look nothing like us. Talking about salute Romani Bay in the house. And just because some look like us don't mean they tribe. It's deep. It's deep, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? It's deep, my nigga. But we definitely know who tribe ain't. We definitely know who tribe ain't. If they ass ain't looking like this, they ain't tribe at all. You ain't tribe at all if you ain't looking. If you ain't coming like this in the spirit of darkness, you ain't tribe. You ain't tribe at all. If you ain't coming in the spirit of the Naga, you are not tribe, my Naga. Look at that guy in the Netherlands. Got your statues all in the Netherlands. Yeah, if you ain't coming in the spirit of the Naga, you ain't tried. Indian Managa 700. That thing got sold. I would have bought that one, man. If that thing was available, I've been trying to find one, man. You can't even find one of these Naga. You can't even find the Naga, man. I wonder who bought that for 700, man. That thing worth way more than $700. They probably don't even know it. Somebody came up, man. Talking about who Indian, who a Negro, man. Please. You kidding me, man? Please. I'd love to own this one. Yeah, sold at an auction. Yeah, I know. Selling all of them. I would love to own this one. I'm just own them on pictures. I'm gonna put them on shirts. I'm gonna own them one way or the other. Fuckers, man, trying to steal your history, man. Gotta take your history back, man. You ain't gotta ask nobody. You ain't gotta ask nobody about your history. Take your history back, my nigga. Let's go another Indian, American Indian, my nigga. You ain't gotta ask. You see the pearls, my nigga. So what he ain't got feathers on? He don't need feathers to be no Indian. He is the Indian. That's clearly an American Indian, my nigga. That's a Tamari Khan. That's the back of the statue. That ain't nothing else, my nigga. In fact, he just like this one. I don't need feathers to know what I'm looking at. Wait a minute, hold on. I don't need feathers to know what I'm looking at. Hold on, where he at? Where my boy at? Hold on. Right, here go one. I don't need feathers to know what I'm looking at. He ain't got to have on no headdress. I still know what I'm looking at. Nigga. Like this one. All these American Indians. All of them. If it got anything to do with tobacconists, it's American Indian, Managa. They got it from you. Any of these are American Indians, Managa. And then nobody lie to you. It ain't no African tobacco head statues. It ain't none. These are Indians. Showing you little Naga got on big ass hoop earrings. You ain't fooling. Nobody can't fool me, man. You will never fool me. I know what I'm looking at. Now I got feathers around his neck. Now I got a headband on. Man, dumbass people, man. Hey, man. I want to hit y'all with something quick, man. Show y'all something, man. Just want to talk about all this labels and stuff. I take all that. We can, man. I'm telling y'all, we can create our own tribe. We don't have to. We is the tribe. We can create a whole new name and all. We don't have to ask their permission. We don't need recognition. We don't need the government to put us on the road. We don't need none of that shit. Them our ancestors, man. What the hell? We don't have to ask them. We know who they robbed. Shit. We can call ourselves whatever tribe we want. We can really get ancient with it. We can get on the Israelite flow with it. We are the tribe, man. Can't nobody tell us different, man. We call ourselves whatever we want to. Understand? And that's my word, man. I'm Blackjack. This house of cons, man. Respect the house. We'll let the doorknob hit your ass with the most high split your ass. And we out. Salute. Peace.